Alright, so when and why to use straight sets or back off sets. So in case you're not familiar with this, straight sets would be, let's use 5x5 as a classic example. So straight sets would be doing 5x5 at the same weight across for each set and rep there for that workout. So let's say it's 100 pounds, and that would mean you're doing straight sets across at 100 pounds for 5 sets of 5. Back off sets might be something where you're ramping up to that 100 pounds for 5 reps there, but then you might back off and wait for those 5 reps on your next 4 sets or however many sets you decide to do. And back off sets are used for many times and places, obviously, and can just be one to several back off sets that you want to do. And there's a million ways to use back off sets, but really when we're looking at, say, a 5x5 prescription here with weight, it's something we do a lot of, whether we're doing sets across or ramping to a 5RM then backing off. So when you're a newer lifter and raw strength and limit strength is your goal, I highly recommend doing sets across to keep that weight on the bar the highest possible. And what you'll find is when it's the right proper weight, that first set is probably the hardest, except for the last set really, but that first set that you get to, that 5 reps for 100 pounds is very hard. The second set feels much better. That third set feels the best and you're dialed in very nicely. That fourth set you taper down a little bit, and the fifth set is about as hard as that first set. But it's harder for other reasons in terms of fatigue and muscle breakdown, whereas that first set of 5 is just because you're just not dialed in and warmed up for the weight yet. So that's how kind of a set across approach would work. The negatives to that is it can be, the better and better you get at grinding out and the more advanced you get with strength training, those weights get very hard and heavy, and it gets very hard to maintain positions, and your structures and your connective tissue starts breaking down. It's very stressful, and it's harder to recover from. So it can really beat you up and leave you chewed up like ground beef for several days, and your other training days are at mercy, and you can't train as well, and you're tight and stiff for many more days. So the recovery is longer, and you'll be stiff and slower for longer. Now the back off sets is nice because you can still work up to a rep maximum and keep your limit end sort of strength sort of peaked a little bit or primed and not losing that strength, but then from there, let's say you back off 5 or 10% for your next sets, or you back off each set 5%, let's say for sets 2 through 5. There's a number of ways to do it, and typically we'll back off about 10% for those next 4 sets roughly. But that allows you to push your envelope in terms of your rep maximum, but then you're backing off and do it in lighter, more quality-based reps that are a bit smoother, a bit tighter in positions, they're faster rep speed, and you're moving heavier weights on a faster scheme than, let's say, that set of 5 that was a death grinder or perhaps really hard and stiff and slow. Well, you could get it and you were strong, but you maybe were barely able to keep positions and you were moving it and perhaps sacrificing some quality points in terms of form. So the back off set's a great thing to do if you're breaking down in positions, or perhaps your form's not 100% dialed in with your squats, or perhaps you're nursing an injury but you need to keep your workload and your tonnage up, or perhaps you're trying to start to peak yourself for a competition and you need to keep recovery as quick as possible. So if you those back off sets are not nearly as stressful as those hard, heavy, higher rep maxes as you did with the sets across approach. So it's more forgiving and you can recover faster. And one thing we do a lot when we peak with Team Lab is we'll do like a 5RM and then back off 5 to 10% and then back off 5 to 10% for 2 more sets. So we're keeping, instead of doing a 5x5 basically, and then we're keeping the volume at a pretty good place, but we're backing the volume off, we're keeping the intensity high, but then we're keeping nice, sharp, tight, fast, fluid reps occurring that are going to be forgiving on the body and getting the lifter to lift the heaviest loads possible at the fastest, sharpest, most crisp way possible. So this transfers very nicely to the lifts, allows you to recover from all the strength training and squat tonnage and volume, and allows you to put that into your Olympic lifts and allows for a very nice peak. So that's one way to do it. So just to review on the back off sets, it's great to keep your positions clean for any nagging injuries or imbalances or any tweaks you might have in your squat technique. It allows you to keep your workload and volume up that's clean without grinding yourself to death and say a straight sets across 5x5 realm. And it also allows you to still push the envelope on a high 5RM type max weight. So it kind of satisfies both ends of pushing your limit end strength and keeping your form and technique nice and tight and clean. On the review of the straight sets across, though, I got to say that in terms of getting brute raw strong, I got to say that that's my recommended approach in terms of someone who's just got a lot of strength to gain and that's their main priority, and they've got a big mountain to climb in terms of that. The sets across with the highest weight possible is going to get you there a little bit sooner. And even we push this a bit further on some regards, and we'll say it's sets across, but sometimes it might mean that whatever your 5RM is, let's say it's 100 pounds for 5 reps, it's a 2 rep minimum rule, which means that, let's say on set 1 you get 5 reps, on set 2 you get 4, you couldn't complete 5, but you get 4. But some people say, well, should I take weight off? Well, Some people would say, no, keep the same weight on and try for 3 to 4 in the next set. Well, they get 4 again, they just barely made it. Set 3, they get 3 reps. Set 5, they get 3 reps again, and that's the whole workout. So basically, the next workout goal would be to match or beat those reps and try to get the same exact sets and reps, but try to beat them by perhaps 1 rep here or there. And that's something I've done classically in my own training, and it's worked very well for me for a very long time. Very simple and no rocket science to it, and I've seen it work very consistently for very long periods of time as well. The only downfall of that is the more you're a grinder, the more it's going to tear you up and chew you up, and you will suffer the consequences, and your Olympic lifts and things like that will suffer as a result. And you got to know how to clean that up when you're trying to put your big Olympic lifts together and make your body feel as clean and fresh and sharp as possible. Then when I say 2-rep rule on that, so if you got to that weight and you couldn't do at least 3 reps, or let's say we're doing 10s with sets across, you can only do 8 and something like that, then that's basically when we would start to drop the weight, and basically you're fried out and the weight's too heavy and you need to probably take some weight off. So that's the main differences in sets across or back off sets.